First impressions matter. In life, when you meet new people, going for a job interview, making new friends, but also how quickly you'll change the TV channel. This extends to films and video games and how long you'll stay with them. An anime? Well, it's no different. A weak first episode can mean an instant drop. No matter how hyped you are for a show, if your first impression of that show is, it's bad, unless you're told to keep watching by someone you really trust, you're not gonna keep watching. Today, history. Attack on Titan, and Fruit Basket 2019. What makes an opening episode work? Try their best to stick to the 3-episode rule. If you've not heard of it, it goes something like this. Give a show at least 3 episodes before deciding if it's worth your time. I would argue, however, the first episode is far more important. A strong opening can hook you immediately, while a bad one can make you drop the show before it even has a chance. To break it down, we'll be looking at 6 core elements that make a great first episode. The hook. Does it grab your attention right away? A memorable protagonist. Do we actually care about the main characters? Establishing the world. Is it clear what kind of world or setting we're in? Immediate stakes. Do we understand what's at risk? Visual and auditory impact. Does it sound great? Are we immersed? A strong cliffhanger or tease. Does it leave us wanting more? For each category, Attack on Titan, Fruit Basket, and Pharmagia will get a score. 1 point for doing it well, 0 points for failing. At the end, we'll see how Pharmagia compares to 2 of the best episodes in, arguably, anime history. Before we get into the comparison, what is Pharmagia? It's part of the winter 2025 anime season, which means it's competing with the fresh wave of new shows, all trying to grab the new attention, and an era of anime fans have more options than ever. Pharmagia is an adaptation of a game with the same name. Think Palworld meets Pikmin, but with farming. The game itself does have a unique premise. You grow monsters to farm and use them for a variety of tasks, from agriculture to combat. That could have made a very interesting anime. The series comes from Hiro Mashima, a creator of Fairy Tail and Eden Zero, or, if you're old like me, Rave Master. His art style is instantly recognizable, and it's arguably one of the few redeeming factors for the anime itself. What is a hook? In its most distilled form, a hook captures its audience's interest quickly. Fruit Basket, being a shoujo anime, understands its audience and introduces 2 of the core plot points. That is, that the show in some capacity will be using the Chinese zodiac, and that our lead is Totoro Honda, which all we know, really, is that she's homeless and without really any real family. The sheer amount of intrigue given as to why is she so optimistic and positive hooks you. You want to know in the first few minutes simply how and why. Attack on Titan has countless people, including our leads, in pure terror and fear. Looking up to the sky, we eventually see what they're all looking at. A colossal hand grabbing the top of an unimaginably tall wall, with the slow reveal with the narrator on the top of a human-like body turned inside out, understanding its unimaginable size. Without missing a beat, we are shown the Survey Corps, an elite military group riding their horses and flying through the air. In minutes, you're captivated. The mixed pacing compared to the first 2 minutes. The first, almost slow and methodical. The second, fast and blink and you might miss something, which prevents you from ever looking away. Pharmagia times through for this video. After the opening credits, we're shown some Fruit Basket 1, Attack on Titan 1, Pharmagia 0. So, not a great start, but what about when you're introducing a memorable protagonist? Within your first episode, you need to introduce and teach the viewer a bit more about your main protagonist. Perhaps, in addition, any notable secondary characters, as most shows can only really support 2 to 3 main protagonists at best. Fruit Basket, as already mentioned, Toru Honda, who she is, and give some context. Nothing more. Nothing to go without some extra points, but the first episode really is all about her, with the setting and setting up some of the supporting cast. Attack on Titan follows a similar first episode, but this time with Eren and Mikasa as the clear perspective. We learn who they are and about some of the supporting characters and who's important for the plot. Clear things happen in the first episode, which reinforces why Eren and Mikasa, and to a lesser extent Armin, as to why they are the main protagonists and whose story we are telling. Farmagime list, could I recall their name, as we got countless named characters thrown at us without being really able to say any concept. The other issue is Ten's name, Fruit Basket, another point. Attack on Titan, of course, another point. Farmagia, this is an easy fail if I'm having to do any mental jumps for it. But that's not everything. What about establishing a world? Fruits Basket seems to be set in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's a world similar to our own. It's got some magic/supernatural elements, but that's mostly coming from the supporting cast. The world is just like our own. A normal high school, slightly dated fashion, somewhat modern aesthetics for hotel, and a home with a TV and a VHS combo. For someone that was born in the 90s, it's very easy for me to identify. Attack on Titan, while it never goes, hey, this is the world, outside of the odd break screen, which I do like for world building, it's very visual. I can look at it and go, oh, well, this is medieval with a tiny amount of forward thinking and also watching. Oh, I also see a cannon about 5 minutes later. And I go, oh, it's like 19th century European. Easy, close the book, we're done. So I get exactly the kind of idea and how it's created. But the world itself is using these massive wall structures to keep out these monstrous creatures, and that this is the last bastion of human civilization. That countless have died going outside of the wall. From war. It's not a great setup. So, chalkboard, Fruit Basket, of course another point. Attack on Titan, that's an easy point for you, and Farmagia, I'll give you a point, but we need to understand and create immediate stakes. Fruits Basket stakes are given right away. It's a homeless girl who's trying her best not to be a burden on those around her. She's lost most of her family, and her grandfather is having to renovate the house, a very typical anime trope. Rather than putting pressure onto her friend, she would rather stay out of the way and live in a tent. However, she has to fully fend for herself, working a job and going to school. She's found out by the supporting cast, who invite her at minimum to stay at their house for the night, rather than being outside. She thanks them politely, but would rather not put them out. Sadly, her tent is destroyed in a landslide, and with nowhere else to turn at this late hour, she comes to live and to help out. The stakes are low, but it's also a very touching story, and I think a lot of people can connect to it. It's incredibly human, but still very sad. Attack on Titan doesn't do a slow burn. Titans will come in and will destroy you, and they don't care about you, your family, or frankly anything else. While Eren wants to join the Survey Corps to his mother's absolute horror, this isn't a world where you grow and prosper. It's a world that's surviving by its absolute fingernails and the sheer tenacity of human resolve. Then again, those Titans will break the wall right at the end, and man, you just don't want to look away. Rather, you keep watching if they can do this, and how much hope really is there? Farmagia sets out with that the ruler dies of this world, which means, guess what? We're sensical. Fruit Baskets, 1. Attack on Titan, 1. Farmagia, nope. But what about the visual and auditory impact? Fruit Basket achieves its impact through refined modern animation, with incredible backgrounds, soft lighting, and expressive character design. Its musical score supports it with a gentle piano-led music and subtle sound effects to highlight Toru's difficult yet hopeful situation. It feels like you're coming into a warm atmosphere of pure optimism. This contrasts with the serene slice-of-life moments and the quaint fantasy it creates and immediate emotional pull. The slow, poignant tone and the promise of something more profound mystery does allure you in. In Attack on Titan's first episode, the towering, monstrous titans breaching the city walls immediately create these terrifying visuals, amplified by the tense orchestral music and the haunting sound effects. The show continuously uses dynamic camera angles with the Survey Corps, almost like a drone-like perspective flowing through the air of impossible fast action, to hold with these all wide, impacting shots. The show doesn't try to hide itself. It wants to have panic screams of townsfolk people, of the sheer look of shock on Eren's face. Every shot is purposeful. It's held every shot for as long as it needs. The overwhelming visuals that make a viewer uncomfortable with the dynamic music to really set the stage of how dire things are in this world. Fruit Basket, another point. Attack on Titan, another point. Pharmageia, 1 point. Alright, final round, the end, with a cliffhanger or a tease. This doesn't mean it needs to be this big, massive, grand thing, but it needs to allure the idea that we will have plenty more to come. Fruits Basket does this fantastically. Toru is given the first real break in her life, with the Soma household offering for her to stay in an empty room on the 2nd floor while the renovations happen. But we also come to learn that the Soma family, well kept secret. Whenever they are hugged by another member of the opposite sex, they transform into animals of the Chinese zodiac, with the final shot being the 3 male Soma characters all being transformed, which, how could you not want to see what's going to happen next? Attack on Titan is showing us the full power of the Titans and the sheer hopelessness of it all, with the Titans breaking down and destroying everything. Eren sees his mother trapped underneath the family home, and Eren and Mikasa attempt in vain to free her. Haynes, a member of the Survey Corps who we've seen return this episode, seeing the Titan about to prey on the children, and in a split-second decision, he picks both of them up and runs to save his, and more so, their lives. With sadly, the very visceral shots of Eren crying for his mother, and the disassociation of the world from around her from Mikasa, as Eren's mother is picked up by an uncanny Titan and eaten. You can't help but want to see more, but with almost a morbid sense of curiosity. For Magica, an unknown and unexplained masked character is destroying everyone with their overwhelming power. And Fruit Basket's a perfect score, 6 out of 6. Attack on Titan, of course you got a 6 out of 6. And Pharmageia, no, stuck on 1 point. First impressions matter. If your show starts off on the right foot, you'll get a lot more engagement, but also people will be willing to stick around. Not everyone is a 16-year-old who can watch everything. Sadly, the sands of time will come for us all, and we can't be stuck on the redundant 3-episode rule. Sometimes, if it doesn't vibe with us on the first episode, I'll drop it and move on. But if you stuck around for this long, I do have some half-decent suggestions for farming and monster-raising shows for you. They are Farming Life in Another World, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, and Pokemon Concierge. What about you, though? What are some anime that you've seen that you've had some really strong feelings about after its first episode, or it's really grabbed you in some way? But with that all said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very, very soon.